Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are going to look at a revision of the very beginning of an essay about Wuthering Heights, which I read over the summer with some of my students. And yeah, we're going to dive right into that, specifically looking at transition phrases and a few other things as a consequence of an initial effort to resolve an issue with a transition phrase. Okay, sit tight. You can see on the page that we've got two paragraphs. Actually, we've got a kind of bare bones but functional introduction, and we've got the beginnings of a body paragraph. And it's the first two sentences of what will be the first body paragraph. And kind of like a cooking show here, I've gone ahead and highlighted the different elements of this paragraph and this snippet of a paragraph. So in the kind of, what's that fruit? Kiwi green, I want to say, we've got kind of an introduction. In Wuthering Heights, a gothic horror novel written by Emily Bronte, there is a constant message about personal identity throughout. And I just want to say, what's it called? Tag? Title, author, genre. We're fulfilling the tag requirement here. Title, Wuthering Heights. Author, Emily Bronte. Genre, well, it's a gothic horror novel. So that's pretty well done already. There's a constant message about personal identity throughout. Okay, we'll get to that, but we know that the topic, which is not to say the thesis, has to do with personal identity. Now this is the thesis statement in a brighter green. By exploring elements of love and recurrence, the novel signifies that humans are products of their environments. So we've got kind of that blueprint going on here, if you will. A lot of teachers talk about a blueprint. So we know from this part of our thesis statement that most likely one of our body paragraphs will be talking about love, and another one of our body paragraphs will be talking about recurrence. And indeed, when we get to the beginning of the first body paragraph, we see that love comes up. Firstly, the element of love conveys that humans are results of their environments. And then we get into kind of an elaboration on that claim. And a lot of advanced English classes in high school will have essay outline worksheets where not only is there a space for the topic sentence, but there's also a space under the topic sentence for an elaboration on the claim. Not a secondary claim, although perhaps it could be called that, but maybe a secondary claim, or as I said before, an elaboration on the topic sentence. That's kind of what's going on here. The third sentence in the student's essay ends up being the first kind of for instance, and then an excerpt from the novel. Let me just confirm that I'm recording here. It seems that I am. So this is a little bit of an elaboration. So what I want to address is what's in the yellow, the transition phrase. And I want to give the general advice that you avoid this light. It's such a light and brief, and it's a numbered transition phrase. I want to suggest avoid using such transition phrases to go from paragraph to paragraph. Reserve those types of transition phrases to go from idea to idea within your paragraphs. This is not a set in stone. This is somewhat a matter of taste, but even just considering the advice will, I believe, open up new avenues of thought for you when you consider how to transition in your essays. So we're going to revise this so that we're not just going firstly. And one negative of a firstly is that it can give your essay the sound of a list, which is neither the best thing nor the worst thing, but I think it's closer to worst than best. It also just feels a bit abrupt. And now I was also going to say it feels a bit mechanical and robotic, but I'm actually not averse to those two tones. I think a lot of times we want to be very explicit and literal and somewhat mechanical and procedural in our writing. And just to prioritize coherence over tone and style. I would rather read a perfectly coherent and logical essay that sounds a bit robotic and what's the word? Stiff, rather than a very flowy, tone-rich essay that actually fails to make any sense at all. So the robotic charge is not such a bad thing. That's not really a reason why I would condemn this firstly. Okay. Another thing that I hope you're taking notes because I didn't write this down. But another thing that we want to be looking to avoid here, I think, is the immediate repetition of some ideas in this subsequent sentence here. So by exploring the element of love, the novel signifies humans are products of their environments. So here we have results of their environments, which is a very decent paraphrasing. And here we have element of love. Don't get me wrong. We want deliberate repetition, and we need repetition. If there isn't sufficient repetition, then you've definitely gone off topic, because the entire essay is about using multiple multiple points of support to substantiate a single claim. So you have to be reminding your reader of what that claim is, right? So repetition isn't the devil, but from a style point of view and from a flow point of view, if we can avoid this type of repetition here, we might do well to do so. And this came up mostly just when I was thinking of how can we avoid the firstly, which is also a point of style and not the devil itself. So let's go down to the revision. Here's a little note. In the revised example I give, I make my topic sentence the second sentence of my paragraph. And there's no rule against that. I do that in order to avoid the immediate repetition of the ideas expressed in the thesis statement. So again, essays can feel very formulaic. They can feel a bit repetitious, if that's a word. By exploring the elements of love and recurrence, the novel signifies that humans are products of their environments. Firstly, the element of love conveys. So we have conveys instead of signifies, which is reasonable. The novel the element of love conveys that humans are results of their environments. So we might not feel the best about that because we can feel, oh, I'm going through the motions of the essay writing process that I'm being taught to do at school across multiple grade levels because it's a really hard craft to master. And now I've just kind of said the same thing twice, almost. I'm promising my reader love and recurrence, and now I'm making the same claim, but just with regards to love. So to avoid that repetition, I'm actually going to reverse these two sentences here. Let's go down here. A little bit of revision of the introduction, and then into the beginning of the body paragraph. So in Wuthering Heights, a gothic horror novel written by Emily Bronte, there's a constant message of personal identity throughout. So I just deleted throughout because we've already have constant. So not such a heavy revision, but let's get rid of that redundancy. By exploring elements of love and recurrence, there's no the here. We could add a the here if we wanted. But by exploring elements of love and recurrence, the novel ultimately signifies that humans are products of their environments. What I'll comment on here is that I've added ultimately. Why did I add ultimately? By exploring elements of love and recurrence, the novel ultimately signifies that humans are products of their environments. Well, there's two reasons, and one is a bit fluffier than the other. The fluffy reason first is that I'm kind of elevating my language here. That's sort of just an added bonus because I don't want to spend too much time and energy deliberately elevating my language just for the sake of elevating my language. Even though on a given essay rubric, there is going to be a little section, a little square that talks about the level of your language, the level of your vocabulary. But one thing that's pretty much the worst thing in the world is to willy-nilly be Googling synonyms and using AI to elevate your language, but not paying attention to the real denotation and connotation of the words that you're choosing. But here, a side bonus is ultimately kind of elevates the language and tone of this thesis statement, which we want to be a very strong statement because it's the anchor of the entire essay. Now, the main reason for ultimately is that it adds, it denotes that by the end of the novel, or the novel as a whole, signifies humans are products of their environments. And that's a good thing to point out that we're aware of. It may not be such a convincing claim or takeaway given any single chapter or any single line in the novel. But ultimately, the novel as a whole, ultimately, this becomes a reasonable takeaway, having read the entire novel, having thought about the entire novel. So that's why I'm going to add the ultimately there. Kind of a bit of finesse in the thesis statement. Okay, so we had this issue with firstly. Let me bring that down here. Let me bring this down right here. So we had this issue with firstly that I don't like and that I want to I don't need to convince you fully, but I want to explore with you alternatives. Firstly, and we had the issue with the repetition, if you recall. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to take this writer's second point, kind of the elaboration, and I'm going to put it first. And then I'm going to get into, I guess I'll use yellow here, an indeed, which is kind of alters the pace of the sentence and sort of announces maybe an important idea is following. So we've got the same thing, multiple of Bronte's characters. I'm going to say several of Bronte's characters without getting into to the nuts and bolts of that distinction, but my instinct tells me several is a bit better, for lack of a better word. Several of Bronte's characters, and I'm gonna say undergo. Again, I'm deliberately elevating my language here, just sort of winking at the teacher. Hey, I know these words. Look at me, give me an A. But it's also like, why not? Go through a shifting character, undergo a profound shifting character, so qualifying the shift. Because of a close friendship, again, elevating the language just a bit, owing to the influence of a close friendship or newfound lover. At the slight risk of getting a bit wordy, that's definitely something I would be open to discussing. I'm not going to die on that hill, but I thought I would demonstrate an alternative there. So this is the writer's idea. Several of Bronte's characters undergo a profound shift in character owing to the influence of a close friendship or newfound lover. And being a bit picky here, I'm going to delete the long dash, the M dash, and I'm going to actually use that is. Or I'm going to, you could even use IE, or you could even say that is to say. Just to make it very explicit that a newfound lover or a close friendship, these count as elements of their surrounding or their environment. So a newfound lover is a change in their surroundings. So I'm going to use IE to show what was really meant by the original long dash, M dash, whatever we call it. It's a bit more precise. It also demonstrates a correct usage of IE, which is often confused with EG, such that both are often misused. So let's use IE to be a bit more deliberate and precise there. So what do we have? Several of Bronte's characters undergo a profound shift in character owing to the influence of a close friendship or newfound lover. That is to say, owing to a change in their surroundings. So you've got this repetition, deliberate repetition, that adds an emphasis and really communicates to your reader an awareness on your part of what you're doing here. You're keeping track of your ideas, and you're sort of holding them by the hand, which we like to say in our essay writing, and really walking them through the course of your logic. You really want to be doing that. Okay, indeed, bit of a lofty word here. Indeed, but I'm using it more as a pace setter, but also it adds emphasis, and it kind of connotes or suggests that I'm going to be restating something or elaborating on something that has just been said. Indeed, now we're getting a bit elevated here, maybe, on purpose. So as we're revising, we're looking for ways to elevate our language, include some higher level vocabulary. Bronte plumbs the depths of human affection. So we've got, indeed, Bronte plumbs the depths of human affection, really explores that theme, explores that element. Here we have exploring the element of love. We're always looking to echo key ideas. Sometimes we're looking to do that through exact repetition, and sometimes we're looking to do that with a different choice of words. So if she explores the element of love, I'm going to say she plumbs the depths, rather than love, human affection. Okay? And we've got friendship and newfound lover here. So we go from love to close friendship and newfound lover. If you know me, you know I love my color coding. And then from close friendship and newfound lover to depths of human affection. So love, friendship, lover, human affection. We see this spine developing, right? We see this spine developing. Sorry, I guess I could have been highlighting it here, since this is closer. So that's what we've got going on here. What do we have again? Indeed, Bronte in plums. Indeed, Bronte plumbs the depths of human affection, at least in part. So there may be other motives, such as humans want to read about love. Love is important to humans. A lot of novels might not be compelling or engaging or interesting if they don't include any romance. But at least in part, we want to say, she's exploring the element of love to convey that humans are the result of their environments. And we're going to qualify that claim. Just like we qualified the shift with profound, we're going to qualify this claim. Humans are in large part, the results of their environment. So we're going to strengthen the claim a bit here, sharpen it up. The more qualified it is, the more precise it is, the better we can, or the more precisely and the better we can back it up, substantiate it, and the more clear the reader is on what claim they're engaging with. Well, yeah, we're not living in a vacuum. We're the result of our environments to some extent, but to what extent? So here we'll qualify that in large part. So what do we have? We have, as a result, the beginning of the first body paragraph that avoids this immediate repetition. It also avoids the somewhat listy firstly transition. I'll save my firstly for when I'm in the midst of a paragraph. And then a little bit of elevation of some vocabulary and a little bit of qualification of claims. We want to qualify our claims. We want to be specific about what we're claiming. All right, guys. I hope that has been helpful. I hope this has been helpful. And if it has, and you're watching, feel free to leave a comment, because apparently the algorithm approves of that. And yeah, I look forward to the next time we get to discuss essays together, because it's a great topic and a worthy challenge for all of us. A craft worth mastering. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.